Today you'll see my attempt at a faux epoxy river tea tray. I was also really inspired by fractal wood burns, but hoping to develop a method that is safer than the actual fractal wood burning itself. I started by designing this template that really I don't think you need to go through the whole ordeal of making a template and cutting it out with an X-Acto knife. I prepped my tea tray that I got from the dollar store with an acrylic craft paint and an acrylic glaze. After it dried, I used my useless template to try and generate that kind of lightning or fractal shape that you'll see in a fractal woodcut or a fractal wood burn rather. Then I mixed black acrylic with some water and kind of traced that pattern I made, working fairly quickly, then used a spray bottle to spray some water on it and then a hairdryer to kind of move it around a bit. I really like this effect. I think it looks kind of close to that shape you might find in a fractal wood burn, but about defining the shape itself with various colored pencils. Here I used a light yellow. Previous to this, I was using a darker brown just to give that sense that it had been etched into the tray itself. I really enjoy this result, and at this stage I would like to varnish and just make a tray that looks like this in the future. But I wanted to have that epoxy river or that, epoxy fractal look. So I took white acrylic and went through and defined the different sort of channels, thinking that this would contribute to more of an epoxy kind of appearance later on. To make the epoxy river, I mixed mica powder with glitter paint. That was terrible. I spilled it all over, wiped it up, and then I decided to try it again with more of a lighter green glitter paint. And I liked this result. It was kind of thick like a paste, and as I painted it on, I tried to use big sort of glops of it, and it gave it this dimension that was very satisfying. So maybe not 100% epoxy river-like, but for me, I felt just very happy with it. So I continued to paint that for quite some time. After that, I decided that I wanted to mix the actual Mod Podge with the mica powder, because I will say, oh yes, I wore a mask when I was working with mica powder because it did not seem good to inhale. So I mixed it with just straight Mod Podge and then used that to kind of darken up some bits to try and give it dimension. Again, went in with some colored pencil to try and add more depth and dimension to the piece. This bit I regret. I'll be honest with you. I regret I decided to go in and make it look more fractally, more lightning-ish by using a marker. The marker was just so flat that it didn't have the dimension that a wood burn would have. And then also the tray is so small that having so many patterns in such a small tray really ultimately I don't think was very effective. But I really think that a big part of art is you're trying things out, and on your way you find things that you really like, and on your way you find things that you don't like, and you try to incorporate things that you don't like into a piece that you ultimately feel happy with, which I think I did. I put some Mod Podge on it, hoping that would add to giving it a sense of like some dimension. Obviously used a hairdryer to try and speed up the process, which this part was fun to kind of wait and see, like, well, how's it going to turn out and what's under that Mod Podge. I really enjoyed the way that the Mod Podge gave the blue river parts. It really did give it more of an epoxy appearance, but the blackish and brownish parts I really didn't feel like it was as successful as I wanted. So I painted it gold, and I like that. I like the gold. So that part I like of any project, I would say, well, gold and just the little details was fun. So, and then I put black on it to give it even more contrast. Whether or not it looks like an epoxy river, I don't know. I will say that I really like it, and I've been using it as a tea tray. So carrying my tea wherever I go, it's unnecessary, but it feels nice. So to try it out, I used a flower tea, which is always fun to see the flower tea bloom. And that's a Japanese teacup my mom has. And there you go.